Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John's reports for the 28th of January. Slightly under the weather, a little bit of chest cold and that. The joys of, teenage children bringing home illnesses from school. But needless to say, what we're looking at here is kind of an interesting situation. We had the dip of orange coming back. Pre-market's already starting to break back above before it actually made contact with the red DOC, which means we could see a little soften within this broader move, because now that we get a separation of orange from the red, that transition for the opening between the spread is going to put a little bit more strain on a potential move. From an NQ standpoint, same situation. So it's kind of interesting right here as we've been consolidating, waiting for some type of breakout move. Still strong gold rising, but by the time that rolls over and stops, irony is that with this move we really should have been strong positive shakeout by now, building up pretty significant. But the timing is a little awkward coming into the end of the month. Usually at the start of the month is when we're going to expect that inflows of new capital. So it's one of those where you just have to wait and see. Got strong support from the euro at a nice bounce back. It's been building. They always look for this relationship. It's sort of classic here as the orange and red start to move. They're going in the same direction here, and then all of a sudden the orange is still heading towards it, and then you get a little bit of a turn, and it's usually your indication that you're about to get your movement. Likewise, you can see the same thing happens with the steel and cyan as they crunch together, but nice and clean overall. And a little bit of that pop. We weren't expecting anything dire with gold. It was holding on to a little line. We had the dip below the red line, so it was just kind of in that soft malaise, and then boom, significant turnaround before shakeout went negative. That was a nice pop there too, and it was a China-related thing. If we go over to the 5K, I had to shrink it back all the way over for the previous days, because here's what we had: these positive extremes, but we had these leftover algo levels, and if we look, they even positive extreme comes all the way down to this 38 range, and also I think the same thing is this on the 50K as well. But the huge run up, and whenever I see cyan below red, I put these little boxes here for a reason. But let me just increase the size of the chart, even though that was from the previous day. When you have that cyan under red, the only time I even pay attention is when you get these moves where the steel will come up and cross and then move back below, because that's the only time you have a significance, when you have red DOC above zero, because without that crossover, or at least being extremely negative, it's just going to be a continuation of the same move, straight up. And in fact, any little dip moves usually don't do a whole lot. They usually end up providing you with this scenario right here, which is that classic crossover of steel. That begins a new turnaround as they come together, crossover, and form the next buy, which did take us to the ultimate high on much lower shakeout readings, and it became much more interesting at this particular point, particularly right there where it all breaks down in a beautiful, lovely spread of everything. Bar before, it was just starting to happen. You had the orange over green, steel was falling, wasn't quite there yet, doesn't cross everything until you get right here. I'll just put a little mark right there just so that you can see it. Now at this point, you got a series of targets. So what do you want to do? You can play for a short dip move. The problem is that you've already got steel just about to cross back over within the next bar. So you can either take that and be done, or recognize that you got a huge series of ranges below there. There were even some in between. All of these coming, if we go back to them, you can see them all. You can pick and choose. I mean, there's some levels that are just below there, so on and so forth. But the point being is, you have a much bigger target that's waiting there, and it's one of those where you got to decide, do you want the big returns off of what seems like a pretty choppy chart? I mean, this is kind of a classic scenario. You just roll up, down, but you'll notice that these DOC reds, they're never breaking the 7.5, and that's a clear signal that you just don't have enough buying power to thrust this anywhere. Not to mention, notice that shakeout staying pretty much zeroed the whole way through. So from this standpoint, I really wasn't worried much about this for the whole day as far as a breakout goes. It's just a question of, are you ready to take this, or do you want the full range? And so it's just a matter of waiting for it. So there's still some range to go. Will we reach all the way to it? Yeah, given what we're seeing so far, nothing's changed. So it's just a question of, how long do you wait for it? Now, from a 50K standpoint, let's take a look at that. Positive extremes go all the way back to right about here, which that would take you to, well, forgive the dark color on that, but around 35, which happens to be the 38% level, which would be a little strong because typically you would expect maybe the 50% on this at around the 42 range. What you're looking at here is just a mechanism by which, from the buy signal that comes in, the following technique was leaving it in the same color, and then the crossing signal. And you get this a lot. There's always that period within a long where there's either going to be the retrace to come back and fill, or it breaks down. This particular case, it was the cyan moving below steel. But within that configuration, cyan does it, but you still have shakeout yellow, still clearly above magenta. In fact, within the formulas that we use, particularly when it comes to the ABM and that, it's usually the spread between them, and then the ratio change that lets you know whether you're going to reach that rollover point, and when you do reach that, will your DSC give you the same sell signal? In this particular case, even if it did, you still ended up with a P3, and that took it all the way to where these highs are. So that happens a lot, where you get a buy that just isn't starting to go anywhere, kind of flattens out, but then a new signal comes right in at the key point. And it's pretty much what we look for in these setups. Don't take too much into this. It's just a test one so that I can see the buy configurations that come in. If I scroll back, you can see. And this way it makes them easy to see and identify when everything else stays different color. And these would be those classic situations. It goes along here, eventually breaks up and makes the move all the way up to the 76%. But you get that inevitable crossover right there. However, you still have shakeout. Yellow, still over the magenta to keep it rolling. So those are the things that all have to be codified into the print of the programming and that. So it just takes step by step to make sure it's functioning. But I'm hoping to get that set up so that it's out. Also, it will include the EBM that matches it. So it will have the adjustments of the buy setups that are configured with this. and then the trailing that will correspond to that. Something like this will just have the stop that would be below, and then it will trail until it breaks into the new zone, in which case then it will achieve the next level. And once you get a 2-zone move, then it will begin the EBM classic kind of acceleration that you see. So I look forward to sharing that with you as well. As always, though, I'm really exhausted now already, but if I'm following action and up to it, I will certainly put up every information that I can. As always, though, trade well, and we will talk again later.